My
Okay.
government my government name, my Korean name, right? Yeah, is Ed Lee. I don't have a Korean name.
Oh,
I
okay.
would, a lot of Koreans they have a book that they look up, and
Right.
that's why they don't have like these two-part names,
Uh-huh.
right? Because they look on a chart, right? One chart, one this way,
Yeah.
and that's how Koreans love, right? Kind of like order and this kind of like, but they're also very breakthrough freedom. Anyways, I have a Korean on my show. Very excited to have her on. I have a whole bunch of questions I'm dying to ask. So wait a second. Just getting to know you. First of all, are you called OC Mom?
Yeah.
Okay.
They a lot of people know me as OCMOMM on my social channels.
Okay.
Do you want me to just introduce myself?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I live in Southern California, Orange County, and I have four children. This is my one that I had my
Oh, what's
oldest
up?
try to babysit and say hi.
Hey, what's up?
Hi. Hi.
Hey.
Yeah. So, one moment. This always happens. So I'm a bit.
That's right. Yeah, it's all right. Taking care of mom business. It's all good. Yeah. So check it out. My questions here in order. Little ones. There's actually that reminds me of that video where the little kids push in, and then that was yeah. I'm glad we're getting the kids out of here. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah, that was cool. Your kid's real cute. I'm glad I got to meet her. Him. What is it? Yeah.
It's a girl.
Okay, that's cool. All right, nice to meet her. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So
Yeah.
let's get down to the business. Yeah, my name's. You said you were introducing yourself. You're from Orange County. Probably the name for OC Mom. Makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah, you got four kids. You met one of them. Okay, so continue on.
Yeah, one second. I'm trying to connect my mic. I don't know why, but it got disconnected. One second.
You sound okay to me over here, but yeah, you can set it up. It's totally fine.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you on. To tell you the truth, yeah, it's very to have
Oh,
Koreans on my.
so I guess you saw me on K Town Social. I didn't expect for them to post my Instagram channel on their show. I've been on their show that was aired before. It used to be called Cultural Shock, 문화 충격
Oh,
in Korean.
that's a separate show on the same thing. So
They
yeah,
canceled
Culture
it.
Shock is a separate thing. They canceled it now. Yeah.
They stopped it
Okay.
because one of the hosts, his name is Michael Wan. I think he's been on the show. I've on your show because I've seen him on like
Oh
the
yeah.
yeah,
Cool. I was
Michael
thinking
Wan.
about asking him to come in for this one, but then I said, you know what? Let me actually get to know you first. So
Yeah, well, he's independent now. He used to work at Radio Korea, and it was probably hard for him because he was probably the only conservative in the whole office.
okay.
And let's get back to introducing myself. So yes, my name is Mindy. I go by OC Mom, and I live in Orange County, hence the name. And I have four kids. I homeschool them. I've found out about a lot of the things that have been going on about 7 years ago when my first daughter was in kindergarten, and it first happened because there was like a woman pastor in our hometown, and she was going around to like the big mega Korean churches, because the mega Korean churches here, they're like 10,000 people in the congregation, and there's like maybe like four or five of them. So she's been going around telling the congregation. She had seminars telling people that like the curriculum that California is putting on public schools was going crazy. I don't know if you heard anything about that. So I started digging online on Facebook, and then I started going into California legislative.gov, like all the websites that have these bills that she was claiming. Because, first of all, you don't know, like, you can't believe everything that's on the internet. And, a lot of it's editorial, it's opinion. So I did my own research and found out, wow, like it started like decades ago. And they were slowly starting to bring
You're
down
talking
like,
about you're talking about
yeah.
the homeschooling movement, correct?
Well, before the homeschool movement, the whole public
Okay, my
school
bad. So
movement,
yeah,
yeah.
you go ahead.
So it's so like we were only taught, okay, you go to school, you study well, you go to good college, have a good life, get a good job. And that's kind of like our lives. And like, especially for Koreans and in this neighborhood, like education standards are really high. So kids are spending like from morning until like 9 o'clock in their studies or their activities, and they're in a rat race as well as the parents. Like we've lived that way, you know. I'm a 1.5 generation. I guess you could say 1.8 because I came when I was 5 legally, you know. That's like a whole controversial thing too now. But like everything was just all backwards. So I was never interested in politics, and I'm a fashion major. I'm not even close to any, like, you know, I'm bad at language arts. I'm like wasn't really interested in history. But looking at what's going on, and because I had kids, I started looking into these things, and I started attending rallies and like meetings where people were saying, so the sex ed in California has gone berserk. So I had like people left and right telling me, oh, some of them are lies, you know, don't believe everything you hear. But if you go into like the legislative they're public documents. So I go on there and I see like the framework that they have written, and I was like, this is insane. I actually, first of all, I went to the junior high and the high school that I went to.
What specifically were they teaching? Maybe it was something gender related. What particularly in there was the most disturbing for you?
So, okay, when I went to the seminar from the lady pastor, she was telling us that now at school they're teaching kids, you know, when I was in 7th grade, you learn, you know, in health class about sex, and you learn, you know, there's male, there's female, and then, you know, you can get pregnant, and like, you know, the regular information that kids are supposed to learn. And we were taught, if you don't want to get pregnant, abstinence is the way to go. But at school, now kids are told there are so many other ways that you can enjoy like these things, and here's how to do it. So they start introducing like dental dams. You can buy condoms here, you can use like, you know, like liquid things here, there, or, you know, there are different, and it got so vulgar and so graphic. And I was like, for 7th graders, I don't think, like, I was appalled by just reading what was on there, you know. And the laws, they're very vague. So if anybody wanted to do like a curriculum to that extent, they wouldn't get fined or charged. You know, it doesn't specifically say like this is how you're supposed to teach it, but they're protecting themselves. So then I dig around and I find out, you know, like just real life incidences around my neighborhood, like from friends who have junior high and high school kids. So they heard the same seminar. They asked their junior high student, 7th grader, saying like, what did you learn at school? And then he started explaining to his mom. I guess they have a close bond. So, oh, they were teaching us about oral and anal. Is it okay for your channel? Because things I say, a lot of it got
I actually have my own questions about that.
Yeah.
So sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah.
I'm quite fascinated about this. I do have a lot of other questions, but I do want to definitely learn about your activism here.
Yeah.
So the thing is that I guess you said that, how old were you when you came here?
I was 5, so I started
Okay,
kindergarten.
so you basically spent almost all of your childhood growing up here. So you grew up as an American. And,
yes, but I lived in Orange County, so the population here of Koreans is like our school was like 60% Korean. So
really?
yeah, so like there's a lot of Korean culture, you know, like churches, like everything is like, it's almost like Korea here. It really is.
I'm like a little bit sorry to hear that, because I know how hard Koreans drive their kids. So I know, like, in the school time, if there's another Korean in the school, you better be beating his ass, or you get your ass getting beat.
That's true. I mean, I wasn't brought up that way. My mom was really free about, you know, letting me be responsible for my own academics.
Oh, really? But you know
Yeah.
how Koreans love that competition, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Like
He was getting the A+ and he got into the honor roll. What do you mean you didn't?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can only imagine the competitive pressures. I'm sorry.
I mean, you know, that is it's the meme, I think, because not all Korean parents are like that. They have that in mind. They wouldn't express it like that to their kids.
Oh my God.
No, I mean,
okay.
yeah. I mean, in this neighborhood, like all the kids are they're just so good at academics, and they go to like after school programs to help them. They have like private tutors. So, you know, people in this neighborhood, they have money to spend on their kids to do that. Like my parents never made me do it. So I chose my own path, and they were very supportive. But like, yeah, like a lot of parents are exactly like how you're explaining.
Okay. So get back to my question, right? As in terms of the setting up the sex education, the thing is that we know that the kids nowadays are seeing sex earlier than ever because of the internet and stuff. Maybe I also get what you're saying, right? Like, do the kids really need to learn about dental dams and oral sex in school and all these other things? Like, you're really kind of like, promoting it to an extent, right, which is leading to other problematic things. So maybe, but maybe they should receive some type of education, maybe not. Maybe it's completely up to the parents. What do you think is actually, I know you're not happy with the system now, but what would you be kind of like ideal? Would it be taught in a church group or just completely up to the parents? Some education. Where's your happy place in
So
terms of like,
I agree with you on they do need a certain type of education and the correct one. And usually because I mean Koreans, yes, most of the dads work and the moms don't in this neighborhood. Maybe not in different neighborhoods, but a lot of the women don't work and they can take care of their kids and they have conversations with their kids. Um, it the school has taken charge of educating the children that way, or maybe like the parents are uncomfortable to tell their kids about sex, right? But it's really important that parents do tell their children before they hear it on the playground or from the school. I feel like, and that's what the anti-sex curriculum people were telling me. They were saying you need to tell your kids and tell them the proper way before the school or like the internet is going to influence your kids about it. Because whatever they hear first, especially in like fifth and sixth grade, whatever they hear first, they're going to believe it. If my friend said it, then it must be true. They're that vulnerable. So the parents really need to take charge. And there are certain neighborhoods, even in California, which is like majority like Latinos, like Mexicans or like Black, and I think those neighborhoods, because they even get introduced to that exposure to those kind of things even earlier, they do need certain education, maybe at a younger age, not seventh grade. The problem is the way that they're presenting it and who is doing that. So I dug into the curriculum that was being made, and they had like a couple sets that like a school can choose. Like in our neighborhood, it's called Teen Talk. And like there's like thousands of pages. And I'm sure the teachers filter through it, but a lot of things that were on there was like, it was just like a lot of it was pornographic. And they even allow the state of California recommends certain books that have to do with transgender ideology. And I'm like, fourth, fifth grade, 4-year-old, 5-year-olds, they should not be confused, because when I'm going to these rallies, there's a guy who he's a Mexican guy, and he had like two little kids, like 3-year-old and 5-year-old, holding their hands, and he comes out crying, saying, "My daughter came back from school in Tustin, which is like 20 minutes away from where I live, saying that the teacher said if I like, because she's a girl, if I like blue and if I like trains, that I could be a boy on the inside and I can change to become a boy. And if my brother likes pink and dolls, that he can be a girl." And she was crying, saying, "I don't want to be a boy. I'm a girl," because she's like a girly girl. And at that young age, like if you were an adult and you decide to do that, like it's your life. I would try to help you, because personally, my opinion, not to say that this is all for everyone, is that it's a mental disease. You get fed all this ideology, or if you have like a traumatic experience, like your ideas of gender might change. But at 4 or 5 years old, no. And then if any parent wants their children to learn about this, you can sign them up for a class. Like there are tons of liberal people in California who think, oh, they should get this education at 4 or 5 years old, before they start puberty, because they need to start puberty blockers earlier, which is another thing. Puberty blockers, they ruin your life. You have to be on medication for the rest of your life, even if you wanted to transition to a different gender. And there are tons of detransitioners that are coming out online. One is Chloe Cole. She's like 21 now, but I met her when she was like 18. And
you met her personally?
yes, I went to one of the rallies and she was there speaking, and she was crying because she's like, "I cut off my breast and I will never know what it feels like to nurse a child." It's like a special bond that a mother has. So I nursed all 4 of my children. So I know what kind of special bond you have when you're nursing and what kind of health benefits that children get from nursing. But she will never, ever have that, because she was confused at the age of 11 and, thought that there are no good role models that are women. I hate being a girl. All my brothers, they have such good time in sports. It's an idea. And
If I could maybe
yeah.
just throw something myself, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Now the thing is that there is actually some studies that show when people have a further along in the birth rate, right, they're more likely to be gay, especially for men. So I do believe that there's some kind of brain differences. So I'm not there to like make their life harder. Like, but the
Right.
thing is that also, I do 100% believe I have a lot of medical experience. I have thousands of hours working in hospitals, and I do believe that people that are, I believe you're exactly right. People should learn to live with their own bodies naturally.
Yeah.
And the thing is that there's a whole industry that wants to sell them these hormone blocking medications. And the thing is that, right, once again, your body, right, you're becoming dependent on outside drugs. There's an industry that's
Hmm.
making money off it. I completely agree. And it's trying to be predatory upon people that are maybe naturally trans, right? I do believe that there's some natural aspect to the trans phenomenon because it goes
Hmm.
across cultures and time. I'm not there to make their life hard.
Hmm.
But once again, right, I do also believe that parents have a right to choose, right? It is a difficult lifestyle. I'm not saying that it's bad or anything. Right? I feel very sympathetic to what they're going through with the discrimination they face in the job and discrimination they face in housing. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't think anybody would choose that life. I wouldn't, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
but once again, I do completely agree. Just having many hours of professional industry work,
Hmm.
there's a lot of stuff going on in the medical industry,
Right.
and we need to protect our kids from the industry that wants to sell them drugs instead
That's
of
actually the
helping
point.
them.
They
There you
want
go.
to those big groups. I don't know if your channel will get deleted if I say the names, but like the big V and the big B, and then the big pharma, they want to make money off of these kids because one child that transitions for the rest of their life, taking getting surgery, getting medication, and where does that money come from? It's from taxpayer dollars because now, like in California, they're funded and they get to
You
do it for
probably
free.
already know the suicide rate goes way up after transition.
Exactly. Like all the medication it
You heard
messes with
about
you,
that,
messes
right?
with your brain, of course, and your body, and then finally when they're like older, they're like, oh, I what did I do? They wake up to it. There's a example of a girl. Her name is Yaley Martinez. Her mother, Abigail Martinez. She's an immigrant, so she can't speak English very well, and her daughter was very depressed. She was a girly girl, and then growing up, you go through hormone changes, and then you get depressed. I mean, who wasn't? Everybody was depressed when they're teenager. Most people. And Yaley, she followed a friend because her friend was like, oh, maybe, you want to come to the gay rally club with me, the gay club. So she followed her. And then she decided, her friend told her, maybe you're depressed because you're not really a girl. You should be a boy. So she changed her name to like
I'm gonna throw
Andrew.
something crazy away though. Yeah,
Well,
so I'm gonna throw something crazy away. So give me a second.
yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
So the thing is that we know that and you're in Los Angeles.
I'm like about 30, 40 minutes away from Los Angeles.
Did you have any family or friends that was kind of involved in the LA riots?
Like in 92? Well, I was watching it on TV. My mom she was working in Compton in 92. It was crazy. Like my aunt and my mom, like they were all in Compton. We used to hear like gunshot fire like 3 times a day,
So
because
I
I was
think
there.
that, right, I think that the Korean community, which was
Yeah.
1% of the I no maybe 1 or 10% of the LA population,
Mhm.
actually took half the damage in the biggest domestic disturbance, most destructive. I think over $1 billion of damages, and half of it was borne by the Korean American community straight up. And I think that the Korean American community was targeted specifically because, right, the blacks were becoming unhappy, and Korean Americans who never made black slaves, they said, you know what? There's a Korean lady who shot a black person. The Korean people are the bad ones. Don't take it out on us. We're gonna guard Hollywood. Go attack those Koreans. It's open season on them. We're not gonna protect them. We're gonna, go ahead, steal from them, take out your frustrations on them, and we're gonna let it go.
Yeah, I
Right?
believe that too. I don't know
So
if you know there was one lady, she's like an old harmony, and every store around her got burned to the ground except for her store because she was like the nicest person to all the black community. She would give stuff for free, like the Korean hospitality. And so it wasn't a hate thing just against the Koreans. I agree with you. Like it was an agenda because Koreans were making it.
now
They were working so
here's the
hard.
connection, right? I do feel like trans people's issues have been going on for a long time. I do feel like the woke agenda, as in terms of pushing the bathrooms and stuff, instead of taking care of the housing or the job discrimination, like I talked about before, they want to say, but I feel like they were chosen
Mhm.
to be the front of a war, which honestly, there's a lot of other, they're a very small percent of the population, not saying they don't matter, because, I'm sorry about what they go through, but why is this all of a sudden a major issue and being pushed into schools once again when it wasn't an issue before? why is there's a lot of other minority groups like disabilities, blah blah blah, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Other minority groups like Asian Americans. And by the way, I've been trying to get help with the Asian American curriculum here in New York City, which I think is there's no mention of Say-I-Gu or, as in terms of an Asian American curriculum, and a curriculum that was specifically designed to stop Asian hate. What? It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's an insult to Korean Americans. This
Yeah,
new
that's true.
curriculum. So,
Well, that's part of CRT, critical race theory, where they're bringing up these topics, and they're teaching it in school, saying that blacks were slaves, Asians are certain things, and like they're victimizing everyone so that we think, oh, I'm a victim, so I'm helpless, I can't do anything, and that became like a social construct, so that we blame it on somebody else. When if you're not having a good life, if you're not making good money, it's really on you. It doesn't matter what race you are. There's plenty of Mexicans who are filthy rich. Like there are realtors around here that are Mexican and they're doing really well. Like my whole neighborhood, people with like huge backyard swimming pools, they're Mexican because they have really good jobs.
So you said you've been involved politically for about maybe 4 years?
So I'm trying not to get involved politically, but ultimately it's about us having to vote the correct representatives to vote on these laws that are being pushed down our throats now. So looking just in California, out of the 80 people, 80 senators and assembly members that get to create the laws and get to vote on sex ed or CRT or whatever the matter is.
Let me ask you something else. I'm so sorry to interrupt. Yeah.
Okay.
But okay. Can you name a Korean American or an Asian American scientist?
Asian American scientists, like in America? Like
From Asian American.
No, I don't know one.
Asian American musician.
Asian American musician? I'm not really into music. Well, besides like the people, like the pop stars, you mean?
How about an Asian American activist?
Well, there's a couple around here.
Go ahead.
Well, Sue Yu's one of them. I work with her closely. She ran for assembly member.
I hope she gets to do an interview with me too. But okay, so just to get to the point, right? The thing is that Asian Americans have dominated academics, been near the top since the 80s and the 70s. That's 50 years, half a century of academic dominance. But what we were not taught was a political education. We were not taught to empower ourselves. Look at the quality of the food that the kids eat in school. It looks like it's came out of a prison cell. We are not taught how to, right? So the thing is that some power can be taught, some power must be taken, and some of the stuff the kids are not taught to empower ourselves. So the curriculum has to be fixed, and we just I guess a lot of our parents who believed in education, they didn't realize that just the way they can be junk food, they can be junk education, and that education has been used to make us weaker and to train us to be passive and docile.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with you. It's not just education, it's like you said, the food and like the pesticides that's put on the food. It's also making men have more estrogen, that could be a reason why like people are born with like more estrogen or more testosterone, and to make them think that they're a different gender.
So you got to be political. And the thing is that honestly, I hope you run for something called county committee. In county committee, that determines, first of all, they're the ones who actually select the machines that are used for the ballot, so they can't throw the election. Another thing that they do is they actually select judges. So the fact of the matter is that if you want electoral justice reform, you vote for laws. I'm not mad at that, but the interpretation of the law and whether that law gets to stay or not is determined by judges.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's the last stop for justice.
Yeah, it's really, I just started it because I wanted to bring more awareness, just because I found out. And most Koreans in California, they can care less because they're so busy in their rat race. So they're not looking to politics. They never voted. And embarrassingly, my first vote was in 2020.
Okay.
Yeah, because I never was into it. And then, just I was like fired up about what's going on with education, but like never voted for it. But ultimately it comes down to who you vote for is going to change what's going to happen in the future.
Okay, so I want to ask you, do you have a certain political ideology?
I don't want to frame myself into one specific one, but definitely not Democrat. I thought I was central left, after college because everybody else is and Koreans are Democrats. But looking into what has gone around, like, back then in your 20s and 30s, you're busy partying. You're not thinking about your future or like, what's going on with money and tax funds and stuff.
Okay.
But then I realized, I'm like, first of all, we're paying way too many taxes. How much is it in New York right now? Is it
Well,
like
you know, like sales tax or income tax or what?
just total, like from when you're getting taxed? How much?
Yeah, there's so much bullshit. They just
Yeah.
rolled out something called the congestion pricing tax, which was a new
Like, what
tax.
is that, right?
Yeah,
Like, what is that? And, like,
yeah.
40%. California's like 40%, maybe more. It depends on the level of income that you have, I guess. But just off the bat, like, that's just wrong. We're being robbed of our money, and it didn't used to be like that. But they're taking our money and then they're using it on curriculum that's messing with our kids. So I'm like, I'm not happy with that. I don't want my taxpayer funds to be used to pay these politicians to make these bogus laws. And
You
then
know,
I
a
find
lot
out,
of these woke lefty, they want to say like, oh, we got to support UFTs in schools and stuff. I'm gonna tell you right now that Grace Lee Boggs is a hero for a lot of them. She has her own charter school. So big shout out to the people that are homeschooling and doing their own thing. You
yeah,
know what I mean? The Black movement used to have a lot of in common with
yeah,
the civil rights movement, and they used to also say, you know what, they want to have their own schools. And so
yeah,
big shout out to you. I'm actually the charter schools and homeschooling is something that I do support. And I have a partner in Los Angeles. Actually, her name is Lisa Henshaw. She actually released a new homeschooling online software program. So I'll put you guys in contact. But I have a list of questions that I set up for you because I'm just so excited to have a Korean American on the show.
yeah.
So first of all, I'm going to ask about probably the best known Korean American out there, Yeonmi Park. What do you
Okay.
think? What do you think of? Okay, so first of all, you're yeah, I'll let you say about it. I'm gonna start digging a little bit deeper. What do you think about Yummy Park? Go ahead.
I've only seen like clips on social media and like her video when she first like in her hanbok, looking really innocent.
Okay.
She's changed, but I'm like, you know, I get it. Like when you're like stuck in a hole and then you come out of it, like you can be as free as you want, So some people might bash her with like her looks and stuff because she's a little more provocative than she was before, but I'm like, go girl, like own it. Like she
Okay.
was a slave, when she was in
Have
North
you
Korea.
have you heard about the controversies of the inconsistent testimony?
No, tell me about it. I
Okay.
can give you an opinion about it if you tell me about it.
Well, the thing is that there's she's on camera saying contradictory things, such as like eating bugs and grasshoppers in one state, and then another period she's saying that she never had to eat grasshoppers. There's also
Mm,
differing stories about her the death of her father and
mhm.
how that went down. But look, I think that some of that is also explainable. But also Yeonmi Park was running around with Blexit. I don't know if you know. And when she came to New York City, I was the only Korean American that actually went to go visit her. So the fact of the matter is that there's also interesting potential relationships about who's going to have influence with Trump. Is Yeonmi Park the highest? So actually, there's other Koreans I'm going to ask you about in a moment, but I just wanted to know how that was. We talked a little bit off camera before the show started. I do think you know the K Town social. Oh, maybe even on camera. You said you know the K Town social club people. Do you know all of them?
I don't know all of them, but I've heard about them, and I know the owner. I met him last week, actually. I've heard about him before, but I
Who is
met
the
him in
owner?
person. Michael Kim. He's
Oh,
the
he does own it. Okay,
he's the son of the owner. I heard.
interesting. Okay,
Yeah, and
so
he presents himself very central, which I think is a good thing. But just background wise, like very left. And the things that he was saying on the show with just my clip on there, was very left.
okay, there's also someone there named David Yun. Have you ever heard of
Okay.
him?
No, I've never heard of the other guys. I just know that they're all liberal and very left.
Okay, let's take a look at there's also someone named Grace Yu. I think she
Oh,
was trying to represent like Koreatown or something.
okay.
You know who she is?
No, I don't know her.
I think she's running for office. That's okay. Have you ever heard of someone named Casey Lertigue or
No,
something?
I don't know see about.
There's some kind of like program. I think that actually Yummy Park is from his program. He has a
Okay.
program called like Voices of Korea or something like that, where people come out and they actually are usually pretty ladies come out of here and they talk about their experiences having lived in North Korea. So there's like kind of like a whole like 4 or 5 people he's developing.
Mhm.
So there's different thoughts about. Okay, so also want to ask about Tulsi Gabbard. It sounds like you might have some lineup with Tulsi Gabbard. I was actually a huge Tulsi Gabbard supporter, and I actually was actually probably the main guy in New York City doing stuff. I organized protests at New York Times, Good Morning America, CNN. I went beast. I went to New Hampshire to support her and did like a lot of work.
Wow.
It sounds like you line up a lot. What's your thoughts about Tulsi Gabbard?
Yeah, I think she's amazing. First of all, she has a background to go political, you know. I think somebody like her is a very big influence on everybody because she wasn't born into a family that was Republican or a rich family. She was left and very far left. And then realizing what is going on in our country, like you have no choice but to stick right. I mean, I wish there was like an independent group where you can like, or maybe there should be more groups, you know, not just left and right. Because I'm not, people keep calling me MAGA, but like the word MAGA, I only use it as a term of making America great, not as like the MAGAs, you know, like the white rednecks. You know, there's like a certain group of MAGAs that people hate. And I'm not that sort of MAGA, you know. I just use that term because why not? Like we live in America. We want America to be great again. You know, that's like the only literal term that I want people to see as representing myself. But a couple of posts that I posted earlier, I said if you're so I thought Koreans were all Democrats, and I'm like, yeah, I thought so too, but not since they did all of these politically unmoral things. Like you can't be Democrat, and then plus because I'm Christian, you know,
What
I have
about
my certain values.
what about Michelle Steele and Young Kim? Do you know who they are?
Yeah, I know who they are. They're like
They're
our
actually Korean
neighborhood.
American, right?
Yeah, they're our
How did
neighborhood
they,
representatives.
yeah, how did they win as Republicans?
They started decades ago, like they did door to door and they started like grassroots
Did they
and they
also
had
be Democrat or were they always Republicans?
I don't know about their past, but I know that they started Republican.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
there
they
were a
were
lot of Korean
actually
people
cool.
supporting them. Yeah. So like
Okay.
there's one guy, he I think he ran from Congress. He used to be a senator for Irvine and his name is Dave Min. And people vote for him just because he's Korean. You know, they don't know like his voting record. I've searched his voting record and I didn't like a lot of the things that he did. I mean, he did good for some, you know, for Asians or for Koreans, but all the other things, like he voted left. And I'm like, nope, 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 sorry. And
They just
I made videos saying, don't vote for somebody just because they're Korean, because they might be opposite of your values. And he did a lot of that. He doesn't represent the Korean community here in Orange County because he's with the rest of the Democrats. And I understand, like
that
the
happens a lot.
Democrats, that happens a
Damn
lot
right.
because
Yeah.
it's if you just like simplify it, it's like a popularity contest where okay, so out of the 80 people, 60 of us are Democrats. If you don't vote yes on this, I don't know, same-sex marriage or gender ideology, then you're out. You get fired, you know? Or like cuz like the people who are voting for him, they don't know his voting records. I think that's the biggest problem. They don't take enough they don't get involved as much to really dig into why I should be voting for this person, you know?
Okay.
And they don't ask him about our
Yeah.
values and then they get
Well,
they get yeah, they get conceived by the propaganda, like
my show
just
is
like the
all about cutting through that. So that's
yeah,
cool. But I want to actually go back to asking a couple questions about yourself.
sure.
What kind of Christian are you? You said earlier that you said you came up in the church. Which church?
I went to a church called Sarang here. I moved actually like about 4 years ago to
Is that
another church called
denominational, non-denominational?
they're Presbyterian and I grew up there, but the funny thing is so many things that I consider Christian values now, I didn't learn from the church. And a lot of the secular things that happened, I learned from my peers at church. So
Yeah, well, that could
the worst things go down in the church, and the
You
parents are
go,
blind to
you
it.
go to Korean American church. Yeah, it sounds like that, right?
It was a Korean American church. Now I go to a like a majority white person church. It's very
Okay.
famous. It's Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills. Pastor Jack Hibbs. He's very political, and like during voting season, he has like senators and people who come out on stage and saying, "You must vote for this guy, otherwise our biblical values are going to be destroyed." And you know, it's not just about
Is this still a
pushing like
Presbyterian church?
I don't know what denomination they are, but I mean, just their style is very. They're like similar to Presbyterian. I don't know
So
what
actually,
denomination.
if you think about it, right, I think like in Korea, the Methodist, the Presbyterian, maybe I'm right, the Seventh Day Adventists, and the Calvinists have like a particularly history with Korea, if I'm right, or maybe there's more. Am I correct?
I don't know, maybe more.
But
But
I
most
think I think Presbyterians have good, strong Korean representation,
they
stronger
do.
than most.
They do, yeah.
Do you know why that is?
That's another controversial thing, like the NCCA, is it called? It's like the Christian Association, some kind of group. And like if you want to register your church, let's say somebody wanted to make a new church. When you want to register and you want to be like registered as a church, you have to select what denomination you are. And I think Presbyterian has like a certain, I don't know, like certain like power over because most of the pastors that I know that went to Sarang, because Sarang's a really, really big church, okay? And the pastors that came out and created their own churches, they're doing the same thing, you know? And I get it, you become a disciple and you kind of like preach the same thing. Like, but who really cares like what denomination it is? We all believe the same thing, you know? It's just a different style of churches. But what they're doing is they're separating even the Christians, you know,
Okay,
into all these denominations.
okay. So because I'm such like kind of like a political junkie out here,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard of something called the Moonies or the Unification Church.
Yeah, unification. They're like,
You know
are
about
they
them?
unification? I heard about them. I don't know too much, but
Okay. So the thing is that I could share my screen with you, right? But they're into they go to the marriages with AK-40, not AK, with the AR-15s, because
whoa.
and they're all into guns. They're super about guns,
Okay.
and I think their son is called like he created an offshoot and he's called himself the Bullet King. Let me actually show you. You've never seen any of this stuff? Okay, let me show
No.
you. You should. Okay, let me share my screen. Give me a second. I'm bringing it up. Okay, so the thing is that I was thinking about, I may actually contact them out here in New York because they have a church in Manhattan, and I'm gonna see what's up with them. Yeah, Moonies.
Okay.
Let's see. Gun. Okay, give me
That's
kind
crazy.
of.
I mean, but
Is
it's their style of church. Like,
Hey, I when you said you're part of the church, I don't know. I'm in Seventh Day Adventist. That's its own kind of story. I don't know if you know about them, but they actually say that the Catholics are actually agents of Satan. Did you know about that? So
I've
it's
heard
kind
things
of
about
like,
that.
yeah,
I've
there
heard
is beef going on. So sometimes,
like
not
the
saying that
Pope.
I got people that I know who's Catholic and they find people. I'm not saying like, but that's I do understand the criticisms of it. I
Yeah.
think some of them make sense. There's some concerns.
I mean, some
Anyway,
of the symbolism that's going on with Vatican and the Pope, like I don't know if it's true, but yeah, a lot of it connects back to history, to the Baal, to the
yeah. See this Pennsylvania church blesses couples bearing semi-automatic guns?
Mhm,
These are the Moonies right here. You see they have a gun blessing ceremony? You know,
mhm.
these people are wild, for real, for real. Yeah? You see them?
Oh, yeah.
And they say that Moon, actually, he's quite politically active. I think the Moonies did something with Trump. Let me see. Look, I'm just a student of all Korean American things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, cult expert explains the Trump cult. No. Former president ties to the Unification Church, right? Interesting, right?
I
Trump
think I've seen
speaker
something like that.
yeah, so look, I'm just starting to learn about it. So,
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
just
I mean, I wouldn't say that Trump is like the most perfect guy, but really, when everybody was voting, you would tell the person, choose the lesser evil. Nobody's perfect. Everybody's a sinner, but
I
Trump's
don't
gonna
believe
do
the
a better job.
media's yeah, the media presentation of anybody. So
Yeah,
especially what they did to Trump.
yeah.
But like once again, like the Moonies, I don't know if they're like as portrayed,
Mhm,
but I do want to see if they're Korean Americans. I want them to enter county committee and
mhm.
start to be able to influence things because no two people can share all positions or priorities. So
Oh,
if they have their, I don't know, right? But I know kooks in every walk of life. So
wow, yeah.
it's fine. I mean, as long as they ain't going shooting anybody, I could work with them. I don't mind if they like
I
guns.
mean, there are Republicans, are most of the Republicans that own tons of guns out here, even the Korean American ones, because they hear about what's gonna happen in the future, and I mean,
Have you
that's like a
seen,
whole different story.
so as in terms of, I saw you at some rallies and stuff like that. You're doing reporting.
Yeah.
Who's actually political? Is it that like a church group or something,
No,
or
it's not.
who's politically active?
It started out as, first of all, in December, President Yoon, he called martial law, and everyone was confused, and they're like, "Why is he doing that?" And then people find out that he had to. He had no choice, whether it was legal or
So
illegal.
you're wait a minute. I did see some of the footage because I like to do a little bit of research. So does that
Yeah,
mean that you're a President Yoon supporter?
I am.
That's
Yeah.
pretty rare, though. Am I correct?
It's what? It's is it
It's
rare?
pretty
No.
rare.
It
No?
is not. That's what I'm
I did not
saying.
know.
Like the whole
Okay.
mass media in Korea, they portrayed President Yoon, they demonized him just like how they're doing here to President Trump.
Oh, time for some conspiracy theories. I'm not mad, right? Yeah. Hey,
Well,
look, I traffic in a lot of those. I believe a lot of those are true, by the way, right?
yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah, and
do you think right now? I completely believe, by the way, that like remember earlier said I don't believe anything because the media once again always paints their narrative. And
yeah.
being Korean American, I've seen this my whole life.
Yeah.
So what do you right? And you have kind of like the inside scoop. You're by California. You're in a larger Korean community. They're talking.
Yeah.
What do you think is actually going on with? Because honestly, there is some out. I think that America does a lot of kind of like dictating of what goes on, as in terms of news that comes out about Korea. So
You
maybe,
mean the
maybe not.
media here? Well, the media outlets here, like 중앙일보 Daily, the Korea Daily, the Korea Times, and Radio Korea, they're all left. They're all left. I know people who work there. I have friends who are journalists there, and they have such a hard time because their values are compromised, but it's their job. And who else is going to stand up for the other side? It really is like out of hundreds of journalists, there's only like one or two that are conservative. And I mean, we don't want to pick sides, but maybe you need to get a big picture of all of it when they portray everything. And honestly, I've
So
met some of the
do you
journalists.
think Insecure is being set up by the left?
Of course, he is set up by the left. This is why this all happened. So, just a brief history of what happened. He called martial law because he had sent so many requests to investigate voter fraud. And for me, like I don't really know anything about Korean history, but I saw this video where every single province in Korea, like Seoul or Apgujeong or all these big cities, or every single city, there's like a color of how many votes there are for the senators who were voted, right? Or parliament members. It's all blue, like 100% blue. Is that even possible? And so I do my own digging. Busy.
Yeah, I get a
Yeah.
lot of calls. Yeah, I'm really politically active. All right,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, so I do my own digging, and you don't get this from media news outlets. So you have to go to people, and you have to go to a lot of YouTubers because these people they're scholars, high scholars who actually dig into the actual laws that have been written, just like how I was doing with the sex ed, right? Going into the laws, digging it up, and then presenting it on YouTube. So the left people are saying, "Oh, you guys are just only believing YouTubers. You can't trust YouTubers." But then I can't trust the mass media. So everybody has to do their own research and find out what's going on. See, in Korea, Korean people are so smart. They do their research, they dig up evidence, and they're presenting it all on YouTube. And then there's this mass crowd that have woken up saying, what have we been doing? Because Korea was doing really great. South Korea's gotten rich and people are doing great. And then all of a sudden, what is this? What is this martial law? Why is the president trying to dictate the whole world? And they realize he had to. So,
Yeah.
but
You just have a natural independent streak, and they're
yeah,
gonna say what they want to say.
of
So the
course.
fact of the matter is that I feel like I can a lot more trust that type of stuff going on because it's
Yeah,
in our nature.
I trust independent people more than mass media because I know in America they're already taking over. In Korea, it's actually worse. Like the system that's going on, if your boss tells you to do something, you can't not do it. Like you're gonna get fired. And like,
So yeah, I,
yeah,
I'm I'm so thankful. I have like such a large list of questions. I just want to make sure I can get to all of them.
sure, sure.
So excited to have another Korean American on, especially someone like yourself who's close to the Korean community.
Mhm.
Being on the West Coast, living in a large Korean, I don't really have those available for myself. I grew up with there's only I think two or three other Koreans in the whole town.
Mhm.
It was hyper competitive, so we all started beefing because everybody's kids had to be number one,
Yeah.
no matter what. Yeah, Koreans are. Anyways, let's go to the So going back to talk about Korea, do
Mhm.
you feel like honestly Korea's on the verge of a nuclear war?
Nuclear? I mean, they've talked about that for the longest time because ever since the 6.25 전쟁, the Civil War in 1945,
Yeah,
that war, it was on pause. It didn't end. It was just paused with like
right.
a semi-treaty.
It's
And
never been.
America stood up for South Korea. Russia stood up for North Korea. So it was just left on pause. And then the Cold War happened in America with with Russia, and then they were just left to just defend themselves. And then through, decades, how many years is it? Like 60 years now, right? 70 years. After 70 years, look at what North Korea is like, and then look how South Korea is like. So who can voucher for North Korean system to, say, oh, that's the way to go? But
Okay,
the Democrats in Korea, parliament is 2/3 Democrat. And the
okay, so
judges, yeah, the
do you,
judges
do,
that
do
are
you have
appointed.
any connection to because my mom was born in North Korea,
Okay.
right? My dad was born in the South, but
Yeah.
my mom fled to the South
Hmm.
before the war,
Yeah.
right? So, but I do feel a kinship on both ends.
Yeah.
Do you have any connection to North Korea yourself?
I do. My mother's father, my grandfather, he fled during the war. And my mom
Wow.
told me this horror story of when he was 5, he was holding hands with his sister and his mom. Like they were walking down some stream, and they were walking with a group, like a small group of people. And one lady had an infant baby with her. And with any noise during the night, like the soldiers are already out there. If they hear something, they just shoot people random. You hear noise and you just shoot them, you just kill them. And somehow that baby knew not to cry for like hours. And that's how my grandfather survived and came to South Korea. And that's how we're all here. I was telling the story to my kids because I'm trying to teach them, this is what communism is. And if you live there, this is how it's going to end up being. Where, this is kind of happening in California now. Like we're forced to do all these things, like mandates with vaccines, mandates with taxes, mandates. Everything's being forced upon us. And this seems way too familiar. And because Koreans, they have stories of their ancestors, and we know about communism, that
Yeah.
we don't want this to happen. That's why we're fighting against it, because we know how it's going to turn out.
Now that is another question I do want to ask, because I don't know
Mhm.
if you've have you heard of a group called No Tool or something like that?
No.
No Tool? No?
Is that Korean?
Yeah.
What is
There's
it? What is it again?
No Tool. I'll actually let me share it on the screen with you. Yeah, because
Okay.
or Women Crossing DMZ. Ever heard of them?
No.
Okay, give me a second. I'm sharing this. I'm opening the window. Can you share again? So sorry about that. There's actually they do quite a few things in what is it over in what is it in LA actually. I think K Town Social sometimes talks about this group.
Oh,
I
really?
actually have an interview with the founder, but at the time I didn't know he was a founder, and then I wish I'd asked him more about it. I don't think he knew who I was at the time either,
Hmm.
because ever since then he's been ducking me.
Oh,
It is what it is. Yeah,
okay. Well,
that's
that's
right.
that's what the
The
left
respect.
does. They don't want to. Okay.
Exactly. Okay, this is another tool right here. Yeah, you ever seen this?
No.
They do a lot of events. I think in LA as well too. Yeah. Anyways,
Okay.
yeah. So,
What is their objective?
U.S. out of Korea, right? Let's see, about statement of purpose.
Oh, yeah, they're the communists, the commies.
That's so the thing is that you can see they're quite popular, right? And then we
Mhm.
see like this group PSL, right? David Yun, right? Actually, is the guy who made like Citizens of Pyongyang, and they're exactly those. You said at you said Mike Kim, right? At his group Radio Korea, there's a bunch of lefties, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Why do you think communism is so popular with Koreans or Korean Americans?
So that has to do with history. I think it comes down by generation. Like, let's say if your parents are Christian, and like let's say you don't even go to church, but you still have like certain values that you grew up with. So your mind, it's not as easily changed. So I think that could be a part of it. Also, to some
Aren't
people
Koreans
who
kind of like naturally conservative?
they're naturally conservative, but that word conservative is not a political term. It's like it means that they're very reserved. They're very, they have like good manners. Like I would say that's the kind of conservative you can talk about. I wouldn't say politically, because most Koreans in South Korea, politically, they're Democrat without even knowing what the Democrats are. So this martial law that the President Yoon had done actually woke up a lot of people. They're like, wait a minute, I'm Democrat, but what's going on? The 2/3
Okay,
of parliament,
good question. Why do you think they're Democrat?
because it's like they're picking sides. Like I want to pick the bigger side. It's just like it's so funny because before Trump became president, like Koreans hated Trump because of all the news media calling him all these, like names and lies, and that he's racist when he's not really. And after he became president, the Koreans are like, yeah, but he's doing a good job. Well, he's the president now. So they're kind of giving into the power. So
Okay,
in Korea,
What do you think
Democrats,
about so sorry, yeah, but
yeah,
so do you think that this has any influence, like, because I know like in Korea there's a left wing and a right wing party kind of,
yeah.
right? But maybe it's over there. But also, if you take a look at Reagan versus Carter, maybe that's influencing, maybe there's not, right? But how do you feel about, I think Reagan was messing around with Chun Doo-hwan, right? That's not really particularly good. And then we also get Carter. I think that the Gwangju massacre happened during Carter's administration or
Hmm.
something like that. So there's a couple different problems that's going on in both parties.
Yeah.
But when the Koreans choose Democrat or Republican, do you think it's because the Democrats were running things for a while, so they like to choose the winner? Or do you think it's because they really have like maybe some kind of feelings towards Reagan, or maybe they're resistant to Chun Doo-hwan and they consider him to be a right-wing dictator? Why do you think they push towards the Democrat?
Well, it has to do with power, first of all. And then, secondly, a lot of the Democrats, they're bought out. That's why we have signs that say CCP out. They're bought out, just like the Democrats in California. They get paid, lump sums of money. Because as a public servant, you don't get paid that much with just government funds, but you get bribes. You get tons of money, under the table cash from other entities that want to push their agenda. So then when they
Okay,
tell you,
talk,
they give you,
talking
yeah.
about that right quick. How do you feel about the Israel-Palestine thing?
Like, which side am I on?
Do you have a side?
I'm not particularly personally. I know our church, they're pro-Israel because of
Okay,
what it says in the Bible. But that's the only reason. So
but you're
I
not
don't
as
really have
much.
a personal. Well, no, I'm not like pro like one side, but our church does support Israel way more.
Okay, so why are you actually different from why are you actually not as same as their position?
Well, because I'm probably influenced by the news media, things that happen in Gaza and like things that are
I think
people.
a lot of also Koreans are just skeptical in general because of, our country is on the same timeline as in terms of interference with outside countries coming in.
Mhm.
And maybe still, maybe no, but as far as I know, most Koreans lean toward the Palestine side or they're neutral.
Yeah.
Very few Koreans that I know actually openly support Israel straight up and
Israel.
down.
Mhm.
Like, not saying that's I do feel like this, I do feel like I have more of a mixed position now.
Mhm.
Because to tell you the truth, a lot of times the Palestinian Americans just, are actually even are refusing to work with me. And that's
Right.
by their that's by their choice.
Yeah. Just
By the
cuz
way,
you're yeah.
well, okay, here's another thing, right? Yeah. I don't know about over where you are, right? I know
Mhm.
that sometimes they'll have Asians in the thing, but as
Mhm.
in terms of like the anti-war movement, right? A lot of times it's going to be celebrities or people
Mhm.
that have not been personally affected by war. You're
Mhm.
going to have Jimmy Dore or, these, Jackson Hinkle, but you're not going to have, right, a Korean American or a Vietnamese American or even a Russian or Ukrainian or, not even, right, these people just don't get to be up there because they're just not politically powerful enough. So someone else comes and replaces them. It's like
Mhm.
having a reparations event with no black people. It's like the dumbest stuff I've ever seen in my life.
Well,
But
the thing with black people, it's really funny how in like the 1600s when the first Mayflower Compact and that happened in America, there were actually tons of black senators. If you look into the history, like there were like maybe like dozens, maybe 20 or 30 black senators, government officials that ran like their little neighborhood. And somehow in like France, I think was it, or like other parts of the world, like they had their first black official in 1997 and another place like 2020. Like so this whole black and white thing that's going on in America, it's all fabricated because white people never discriminated except for that whole slavery thing, like, and it happened with Martin Luther King. Like it was fabricated because black people were doing so well. And to think about it, black people are actually so capable. They lived, just naturally in the desert. They know how to hunt. When people who came over in the Mayflower, they were elites. They didn't know how to farm. They didn't know how to catch things. They're not like physically strong. So the black people were so much more capable that they got up there to the top. And because they got so much higher, the people started saying, hey, wait a minute, we got to push them down. So then comes in Margaret Sanger, who's like the idol of Adolf Hitler, saying, I hate black people. We're going to kill them, but we're going to do it with culture, telling them it's healthcare and make them, sexualize all the black people and then kill all their babies, sterilize them. I don't know if you heard about Church's Chicken, sterilizes like
yeah,
the black men. Yeah, like
actually,
I don't
we
know.
have the was it Parents' Choice or whatever that the the main thing that they Planned Parenthood. It
Yeah.
was actually used actually to weaponize to cut down the black population.
Exactly. And now they're trying to sexualize kids so they can make money off of abortions and transgender ideology, going back to the first topic we were talking about. So it's like an ongoing thing. They just do it over and over again, and it's a genocide, to try to kill off a race. And that's what happened to the Jews, that's what happened to the black people. And who knows, maybe Asians are next, but that's why we all have to stay awake, and choose the right people to represent us, or even go out yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. So right now, being Korean American, right? You have your own opinions about how, being in our society, the curriculum doesn't really help us and things like that, right? Some things are going good for us, some things are not so good. What do you think is Korean Americans should be doing?
Well,
Just maybe, yeah.
you mean like politically?
Maybe you just think they should just remain independent and right, yeah, and fight for what they believe in separately, or do you think Korean Americans have any type of shared agenda or interests?
I think first of all, there are, I mean, just representing California, because I don't know like too much about other states, but just representing California, there are good senators and assembly members who want to make a difference for the good of the people, and not, and because we live in a country that has freedom of religion. So it's not just to push one religion down your throat. It's like it's freedom for everyone. But when the government makes these laws to stop what you're doing, like during COVID, like all the churches shut down, but like Gavin Newsom, like he gets to go around to wineries and do whatever he wants. Like that's not right. So the problem with the community here is that the Korean church community, they actually have a lot of power and influence over the people that live here. They won't get into politics. Do you know why? They should. And I know people say, oh, church and state should be separate. Sure, if the state doesn't cross over the boundaries of the church, leave it separate. But that's not the case now. They've passed the boundary way long ago. And it's gotten to the point where, you can't praise in church, you can't go to church without getting COVID vaccine, like so many different controversial things that, okay, now we got to stand up for ourselves. There's no more freedom of religion. We can't do praise songs if we want to. That sounds like communism to me. That's what they used to do. That's what the North Koreans did. Are you Christian? Do you believe Jesus? And they would just massacre a whole family. Like my grandmother, her friend, her family, or their family was massacred just because they're Christian. And my parents were telling me how the churches in Korea in 1945, it was like a bloodbath at the churches because they're killing any Christians. They want government out so that they can have the power. And Koreans need to realize that and speak up. The nature of Koreans, though, they don't like to speak up. They like to, even though they think something, they call it shy Republicans, right? Where I'm a Republican, but I don't want to say anything because the Democrats are so loud. I don't want to be like the outlier, right? I don't
Over
mind
in
being outlier.
California because it's so Democrat over there.
It's so Democrat. They don't want to raise their voice.
There
There's
are
only a
some
few.
Republicans that got comfortable losing and got comfortable. I don't know if you started acting, you probably run into that somewhat, right?
Yeah. I mean, I get trashed a lot. That's why I left the Korean community. The Korean church I was telling you, I left 4 years ago because the head pastor there, he kept quoting CNN and NBC saying that this is what's on the news. And I'm like, he's preaching the fake news to the whole congregation of thousands of people. I can't stand it anymore. So my husband and I, we had to leave. Like, it's one thing to be neutral, but it's another thing when he's saying, we're neutral. I don't vote for Trump, but I don't vote for the other side either. But then he's quoting fake news and saying this is what happened, you know? And he doesn't realize it. He doesn't realize that they're lies, but I don't blame him, but I'm just saying, like, he was educated at like Georgetown University, and he's like a 1.5 generation. So I see why. The exact reason why I don't want to send my kids to university out here. And I'm
This is
homeschooling.
another reason why I have my own like media framework because the fact of the matter is that not only right is the media news network not really like attuned to our issues, right? But
Mhm.
also the thing is that who pays for all the ads on those shows? Those shows are
Tons
not
of
necessarily,
Pfizer. Tons of
yeah,
Pfizer. Yeah.
yeah, and they're
Moderna,
not,
yeah.
yeah, and they're actually creating the perception, reporting on certain things, not others. You can't trust them.
Yeah.
That's why I'm very excited to talk with yourself, right? So
Because
to
we
learn more.
agree. It's
Yeah,
it's a very small handful of people, but there are groups. And I actually have do you know Kakao Chat? It's like the Korean chat system.
Kakao chat.
Yeah, Kakao
Okay,
Talk.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so there are groups that formed first with the sex ed thing, like just like
Yeah, but I don't
6
speak Korean.
Oh,
So
but you can text it in English too. I have a group that's
okay.
English speakers, and they're around this neighborhood, but we're kind of like sticking together because if you're all by yourself, you fall off the wagon. Like I'm conservative and I'm voting for Trump, but everybody
We
else
got
around
so
you is
much
like,
going on right now. But I do want to actually pick up the Korean American community because out here in New York City, I'm pretty much blackballed. So it's a huge
really from
it's
the
really
Koreans.
yeah, oh yeah, big time. Yeah.
There
Um
are Republicans. They're just shy about it. They won't speak up because they just don't want to go against the current. And you're brave for doing what you do because I know New York is probably going to be one of the most democratic states. You
just
know,
like Cali, it's like, yeah, but it's there's a lot of opportunity opening up. So we're gonna see what's up. Yeah, I'm quite excited.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm sure California is like that too. But there are people like me. There are people like Young Kim and Michelle Steele that get bashed all the time for their views, but they're still doing it. You know, whatever God has planned for you, like you do it, and you just have to listen to that and obey it. I think
I feel you. Okay.
like all the people who actually stood out and did good work, they were hated. So I don't mind hate comments because I'm just laughing here saying let's just see what happens, especially with what happened with Trump now. Like my husband's been talking about this for like 4 years. He had his own YouTube channel and it got destroyed. It just got deleted by force. He had like 30,000 followers.
Because of he's talking about COVID or something.
Well, we did talk about COVID a couple times, and that was like a couple strikes. And then he stopped talking about it and then started talking about like Trump and like Biden and all these controversial things. And
And then
then
yeah.
one video, somebody in the background said, "Where we go one," and then the rest of it. And that's what deleted it.
Yo, actually check this out. If you guys are making content like that on a regular basis, actually I'm in New York City, which is the largest market in the nation with 8.5 million people. And I actually have access to all the cable access shows here, which actually have a distribution into the millions. If you're in LA, right, and we're on cable access there, I was talking to Michael One about this. Also, I have a friend that's in Chicago. We can be in the three largest markets in the nation immediately. So I also have connections in Pennsylvania, Texas, Nevada. So we could talk about some of these things happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you do have a regular show, let's set it up. All right.
I
So
mean, sounds good. Yeah. We need more people to be more outspoken because
yeah,
you need to represent the people who are too shy to speak up.
there's a huge opportunity for Korean Americans right now. This has been we've been underserved in this category, and like I said before, our education right has actually not really. Remember those questions I asked you, right? If we've been dominating academics for 50 years, you should be able to name an Asian American scientist. You
Yeah.
should, but the fact of the matter is that there was a time in this country when, and I know like DEI can be used for good or bad, right? I'm not really someone to say that something's all good or all bad. But
Mm,
the thing is that there was a time in this country when they would not acknowledge the existence of Black scientists.
mm,
And that's because without political power, nothing you do, achieve, or accomplish can be appreciated or recognized. So the fact of the matter is that until we have, look at Jeremy Lin. The year that he saved the Knicks season, they kicked him out of New York. And now he's not playing in the US anymore. He had to go play in Taiwan
mm,
because his accomplishments are not actually something to be celebrated. They're a threat.
mm.
So yeah. So the fact of the matter is that without political power, we're just not going to go anywhere. So rather than trust a savior, right, another politician, that's why I'm urging people like yourself to run for county committee. It's the smallest level of representation of power within the political party system, but it has a lot of. It determines the judges. Once again, it determines the party priorities and the party leadership. So it's a very, and if the Koreans can swarm into there, I'm trying to do this on the East Coast as well. That's why I'm going to talk to those Unitarians, even though they're a little, don't pull a gun on me. Oh my God, yeah, we're gonna do this up.
I mean,
But
we have a lot of Asians actually in running, like in the local government, like city of Fullerton's where I live, and Fred Jung. He's Democrat, but he tends to vote at least central because there was another guy that was running against him, a white guy. His name was Matt Trushaw, and he registered himself as Republican, so tons of white people probably voted for him, but his votes are all liberal. So he's just a rhino, just like getting on the Republican vote because he thinks he'll win. But
yeah,
Fred Jung, and then there's like Janet Nguyen, who's like supervisor of this county, Orange County. There's
wait a
Stephen
second.
Bean, I think.
So a
Yeah,
lot of the people in the political system, right? They're either going to have they're either millionaires, right, or they have a relationship with a former senator or some person, and they were like the chief of staff or something, and they get brought up through the system. So they become like a closed off little circle, and then regular people can't. That's why they're so out of touch with regular people like yourself
Mhm.
that represent the community, and
Mhm.
then they're trying to push through all this other stuff, think that they listen to some academics telling them that this is the right thing to do.
Mhm.
You and I know it's not the right thing to do. Yeah.
Right. But if
So
they have enough influence, I think
yeah,
like people are asking me to run for like education board in my district, and I'm like, sorry, my kids are not going to school. But I would have, you know, if I had kept my kids there,
I
because
grew up in a
not enough
Korean
people know
household,
me.
and
What?
being gay was not okay.
Oh,
Right. And I'm not saying
yeah.
like for me personally, right, I feel for them. I feel like, I feel like they have a hard life. I'm not there to hate on them, but
Mhm.
being Korean,
Mhm.
straight up, and I would say, like, Korea's old school, right?
Mhm.
Being gay is not okay, correct?
I mean, to most Korean people, yeah. I don't see
Especially
anything.
especially the old school ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how did they? So you said in your community, right? Yeah, you said
Mhm.
it's like 60, 70% Korean, right?
Yeah.
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 How did it pass? Because
How did it
here when
pass?
you, like, yeah, because the thing is that here schools are somewhat local. There's a local school board.
Mhm.
Wouldn't the Koreans rise up and say, "What are you doing?" Right? You said your community is 60, 70% Korean.
Yeah, but we're only a small part of all the counties or all the cities in California. In California, Sacramento, that's where it happens. That's where the senators get to decide. And the representative that is for our district, the assembly member, her name is Sharon Crooksova. She's Democrat, very far left, and she gets
Yeah.
tons of money for her funds. And she's the one that votes yes on these things because Koreans here don't vote. So I think last in 2004 November, that was like the most that Koreans have ever voted by far in this neighborhood because of all the awareness that had been coming up with Suyu, myself. You know, I'm always posting stuff. I even made a Korean voter guide, which goes off of Nancy Nordell and Nancy's picks. These are white women who they're like grandmas and they spent decades interviewing the politicians who are running. They send them like a link that interviews them and like what choices you would make, and they would like rate them on conservative and liberal and give you like who would be a good choice because most people don't want to do their own research and dig into every single person that they're trying to vote for. So people in Korea, like Koreans here, they don't have the time to dig. They're like, just give me the names, you know? And they'll trust me because they've seen my life on Instagram, you know, with my kids, homeschool, my values, you know, things that I'm against, things I'm for. And like, you know, I have nothing against gay people. I even have friends that are gay. I went to fashion school, you know.
Yeah.
They were actually the elite of fashion. They get paid way more. They don't have to get married. They don't have kids, so they can spend their work lives as workaholics. And you know, they were like actually the higher hierarchy of fashion, but somehow, like you said, the transgender and gay population, they just were targeted. I mean, I totally agree with you on that. And it was very enlightening because
I
that's
think
fine.
honestly, I think they're being set up.
Yeah. But I mean, it's
I'm
fine.
worried
Like,
about them, right? I think that they're
yeah.
being asked to be on the front of some kind of culture war. I think it's a setup by the people at the top.
Yeah.
They're a small percentage of the population. Why are their issues being pushed down other people's throats? So there can be a, just like happened to Koreans,
Yeah.
there was a backlash, right? Yeah, as they were set up.
Yeah.
Uh, I do think that these weren't really issues before, or they've been issues. It's not like all of a sudden something happened, like all of a sudden trans people showed up. They've been there for like our entire history. So why
Right.
all of a sudden is it being pushed down our throats?
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of other communities like the disabled, the second largest minority voting bloc in the nation,
Uh-huh.
right? No, no, no. They don't choose them. They choose a very, very, very small minority to
Yeah.
set them up. And you should listen to Koreans because we were set up.
Yeah.
So I think that but unfortunately, the left is actually on my channel. You'll never see a Palestinian, even though I've reached out to them many times and actually had my nose broken
Ooh.
protesting on stuff for their behalf. Yeah, it is what it is. Protesting on stuff for their behalf, because something else I'm going to tell you in a second. But the fact of the matter is that the Palestinians have never come on my channel to really work with anything that I do. On the street, right, when I met them, they were somewhat supportive, right, but they the leadership, I'm sorry to say, is captured by a communist. And I'm not necessarily saying all communism is bad or good, but this kind of like top-down leadership where the leadership decides, and they're all for the most part millionaire, which it's so contradictory. They have no regional leadership, right? I thought
Mhm.
they were about the people, but there's no empowered people. It's just a little handful of them and their buddy friends. It's complete
Mhm.
lie. And
Mhm.
that's why they can't have me around, because once I point these things out, say, where's your workers at? And they can't say anything.
Yeah.
Or like, why are your workers signing NDAs, right? Which is
Mhm,
also true
mhm.
for a lot of these socialist groups. Why are your workers signing? And what kind of socialists y'all are ridiculous? Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry to go off for a second, but I'm very excited to meet you and work with you.
Yeah. Let me just
Um,
plugging in my laptop because of the
all right.
battery.
So yeah, once again, I'm planning on setting up like a national network, and actually, once again, a New York and an LA show. That's
Hmm.
actually, I don't know if you're willing to do that, or maybe your husband, right? Yeah, is your husband Korean American?
He's Korean, but he's more of a Korean speaker. He can speak English, but he's more comfortable with Korean.
All right.
I'm
Well, I'm down
comfortable
for both.
both.
I don't speak any Korean. I'm so sorry. Or
It's okay.
very little. Yeah, joke. Yeah,
조금.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So little. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really on me though. But
Yeah.
maybe I should try to learn more. It is what it is. All right.
I,
So
yeah.
go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I didn't understand Korean or speak it until like seventh grade. So
I think that things are about to pop off in Korea. To tell you the truth, I think that there's a lot of just the way that you see like Gaddafi got killed,
mm,
right? And then you saw like those people, what is it? I forgot, like Afghanistan, they were jumping on the plane and falling off.
mhm,
If Kim Jong Un gives up power, I think he's going to be dead. So I don't think he's going to hand over anything. And
mhm.
honestly, I can't recommend that North Korea give up their nukes because otherwise, right? They've been when Koreans starved like Ethiopians, nobody sang for us. They sang "We Are the World." They didn't sing for us.
Yeah.
We are allowed to starve like Ethiopia, but because our our suffering is not acknowledged and will
Mhm.
not be, and we're on the front of nuclear war. I think that it's ridiculous that we're not at the forefront of the anti-war movement.
Yeah. I think that's what a lot of people were saying in like my interview videos. Like Michael Wan was saying, I asked him like what happens if the impeachment of President Yoon passes, if it's confirmed, because he's on trial and he's in jail, which that's absurd as well. Like you're impeached, you're not jailed, like you're not a criminal or you haven't been tried yet, you know? And he was saying it's gonna end up in civil war. There's already a digital civil war going on between the left and right. Like I just posted a video of students from Seoulde and Yeonsedae. Those are like the top two. Seoulde, Yeonsedae, and Goryeo. Those are called the Sky Universities in Korea, the top
Yeah,
tier
yeah.
university. And the students there, they're coming out, they're speaking up and saying our future depends on this because they found out what's going on. And
Do you think
just
that
like yeah,
I think in Sakil, do you think that he has a chance, or do you think that he's basically
I
gone?
think he has way more chance right now
Oh, really?
because if enough people rise up, like look what happened with Park Geun-hye. Park Geun-hye was impeached because all like a million of people got out in the streets and they protested. And honestly, I've heard just conspiracy or I don't know what if it is or not. They said it wasn't a million, but the media portrayed it as million people
Yo,
in
you
the
know what's
street.
crazy? Okay, so check this out, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually have the first. I don't know if you've seen, but I've done U.S. presidential candidate debates, stuff like that.
Okay.
So I have the first one in U.S. history with the use of the Korean language by one of the candidates.
Mm,
His name is some guy named. He's a Harvard PhD from in Asian studies, Emmanuel Pastreich. He's
okay.
some white guy. He actually ended up moving to Japan.
Mhm.
He might be CIA. I don't know. I don't trust anything, but he might not be. Who knows, right?
Mhm.
But he actually was. He knows Park Geun-hye, and he actually was gave some briefings to generals and stuff, which was
Mhm.
interesting. So he has her actual personal email, which is interesting.
Mhm. Yeah, and like they framed her and they impeached her.
Maybe
And
I
that
could
happened
wait for all of us. That would be very
well,
interesting.
it will be. But what I'm saying is that when people rise up in the streets in Korea, it's such a small country. If enough people raise their voices, then the government, they have no choice but to go with what the people say. So right now, the rallies that's going on in Korea, it's like nothing compared to here. We got actually a good amount of people. It's like 500, 600, sometimes 1,000 people. Because usually Koreans never come out. They're too busy golfing or brunching or whatever it is. And in Korea, it's like it was in Gwangju, in the city of Gwangju, just last Saturday. So there were two rallies, one supporting President Yoon and one opposing President Yoon. The supporting group of President Yoon was 100,000 people. The people who were opposing President Yoon, they were ordered by Lee Jae-myung, that's another Democrat
I got
leader.
I gotta tell you something why I'm super skeptical though, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Isn't
sure.
it the case that every single Korean president has like been in jail?
Yeah, why is that, right?
So why would he break the trend? Every single one has never come out clean. Why is
Or
this guy different?
that's true. Or been assassinated or has been, yeah. it's Korean politics. Like as growing up, I always seen them like fist fight in like their parliament room. So I always thought, oh gosh, like that's
Do
so
you
not.
think that the maybe their government is manipulated in some ways?
It's very manipulated. So the people who are supporting President Yoon, a lot of them are saying that there are North Korean spies, Chinese and North Korean spies that were they were bred to have the position of an officer or a lawyer or a judge
Are
or
are there
yeah.
any North Koreans in the community that you're in?
I haven't met any here. No.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if they are and they're pretending not to be, but no, here it's mainly South Koreans because most of the people here are legal immigrants. There are a couple illegals, but they're like friends of family who vacationed here and they just stayed because they liked it, which they shouldn't have done. They should have gone the correct route. I guess that's
I
why.
reached out to multiple defectors. I reached out
Okay.
to Youngmi Park as well.
Yeah.
You ever heard of a guy called Dermot Hudson?
No.
You ever heard of a movie called The Mole, which actually revealed like North Koreans and engaged in kind of like illegal arms deals?
Is it a Korean movie?
It's a documentary about North Korea.
Oh,
Right.
no.
I've always been just I always want to know what was going on, so I just would watch like try to find different like material on it.
Yeah.
So this guy Dermot Hudson, he's actually the university was it UK head of the KFA, which means
Okay.
Korean Friendship Association, which actually
Mhm.
has its lead in Spain. They're both featured in this movie called The Mole with
Okay.
Hans Ulrich or something like that.
Mhm.
It's pretty interesting. Anyways, so I had emailed. He's actually a fan of Kim Jong Un,
Okay.
so I actually emailed him and what's her name, Yeonmi Park, right, to see if I
Mhm.
could get them all in the same room together,
Mhm.
right, just to see like what was going on. And then
Mhm.
the thing is that I get email read receipts. So Yeonmi Park opened my email right away,
Mhm.
right? This guy Dermot Hudson did not open my email, even though he has very fewer subscribers. So it seemed weird to me, and it seemed like
Mhm.
he wanted to get his message out. Then I waited some time, and there was another guy that he appeared with called Flame of Liberty, who also has a show in New York. And he's posing an expert in North Korea, blah blah whatever. And the
Mhm.
thing is, that's weird. I'm sorry, just to go on this one tangent, but Dermot Hudson, even though I appreciate he's talked with me several times, so I really appreciate people that have conversation with me. No one in his crew is actually ethnically Korean. Everybody is white, but he had people from Spain. He even had someone from KFA USA. And I said, I want to talk to this representative, see what they're talking about, see what's going on, just because I just want to talk to people directly and see what's up. Then this person, KFA USA, he never talked to me, and he's also white. Like I was like, how come if you're right, where's the Koreans at? There's
Mhm.
also a lady who was a black woman who was actually this daughter of some dictator, and
Mhm.
she was raised by Kim Jong Un. Have you ever heard about that?
No.
Oh
Wow.
no, like Macy's or something. It's crazy. Yeah. So she also lives in the UK.
Mhm.
So there's a whole like Korean rabbit hole that I'm trying to like dive down, just like trying to explore my own history and
Mhm.
understand like what's going on. So thank you for coming on and answering a lot of questions because a lot of this stuff I was just wondering what. Um, Also, I'm kind of like low class and I don't really speak Korean, so it's hard for me to really, Korean from Korea. They don't like that low class kind of like embracing that. They want to have that high class.
Yeah, they want like somebody who's graduated from some UC, Harvard, or whatever it is, and they give credit to those people. But the problem with that is they're indoctrinated by their professors who are all liberal and they're teaching sociology and communism at those colleges. So they're just repeating what they learned. So that
Yeah.
doesn't give any credit to me. I don't trust anybody who is actually some kind of professor at some university. It's really hard to. There's one guy, Michael Shim. He speaks English and Korean. He actually made a video and I helped him edit it, explaining about what's going on here. It's like a 20-minute video. I can share that with you. And explains of how and why this voter fraud has happened and why they're doing this to President Yoon and why we need to like stand up against it because the media is saying the other half, but nobody's looking into what's really happened. But now that Koreans, because Koreans like their internet's faster and their information gets spread faster, so they're
So,
realizing.
so you're following the case. Is there some kind of timeline? Is there like a
Yeah.
impeachment happening?
So
When does that happen?
so so they're gonna have like somehow KBS, that's like one of the big news stations in Korea. They're gonna air today like a 1 hour like documentary or something about voter fraud because that's what the people want. They're saying investigate the voter fraud. If you have nothing to If you have nothing, that you're scamming about, then you should open up your books and tell us that it's wrong, or that I'm claiming something that's
Wait,
wrong.
wait, I'm sorry. Why is there fraud? I thought the thing was he called the state of emergency. Why
So
is there?
he called state of emergency because there was voter fraud. He doesn't have any power in
Oh,
parliament because 2/3 were Democrat and they are rejecting all his bills. And then they have impeached 29 officers that were in his party or the independent. So they cleared everybody out. And so he's like, we need to investigate voter fraud. And then they're like, sorry, you're going to jail. You're a criminal. They call it 내란죄.
oh,
That's
see,
like,
I didn't even know it was about voter fraud.
yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
Okay,
But we got on
interesting. Okay, wow. Okay,
yeah, and the voter fraud machines that have happened, they were created a long time ago in the 80s with Kim Dae-jung, another Democrat leader, and he worked with Kim Il-sung, that's Kim Jong-un's grandfather, right? And they sent scientists to a small village in China called Daedong, and they built these machine softwares, and they're like the highest IT computer science people. They met there, they shared information, they made these things, and then there's evidence of videos of people like bringing in like fake voting ballots. I mean, have you seen those videos here, like in 2020 with Biden, like bags and stuff left on the streets? Like, no, I mean, people called it conspiracy, but I totally believe it. Like, it could have been so many other things, but how can people vote for Biden? Like, how could they think? And those 4 years, it proved it. They proved Sleepy Joe on the throne of United States, and now the whole world is laughing at us. Like, so that's why everybody got fed up, and they're like, "We need Trump." Sorry, Kamala, but no, not that
okay.
Trump lady.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Biden was
So
pretty bad, but thank
yeah,
goodness that was over.
thank
Anyway,
goodness. And then we would have had drunken Indian woman up there, who's not, or Jamaican. She's not even really a black person. Like, like there's just so much, and people just chose Trump because they knew how bad it was, and that's what's going on in Korea right now. Because Yoon Suk Yeol, he has no like back, like what do you call it? In Korea, they say 털 거 없어. There's nothing bad about him, so they're trying to attack his wife. His wife like somehow got
saw
some
about
donation
that.
money. Yeah. So that's what they're saying. And then all these posts, just my personal experience, any posts about supporting President Yoon, the opposing people, just random people who come into my post, the only thing they talk about is the martial law. He's a criminal because he called martial law. They don't know why he called martial law.
That's the
And
narrative that's being pushed. That's the
that's the
narrative that
narrative
I
on
heard.
the news. Yeah, and
Yeah,
they're upset about it. They're like, "Please don't push your agenda." I'm like, "What agenda? No, I'm just a mom out here in California. Korea is my hometown. It's motherland. If Korea goes down, guess what? Koreans in America are going to go down too.
you know
Like,
what?
how
So
they're
I appreciate K-Town Social,
yeah.
but I think they're honestly, this is my first time hearing about this. I think that your voice should be out there more because maybe you could do stuff in English. I don't know. I see most of your stuff is in Korean, and that's cool. But how else are regular people gonna know? How would someone like me get to know about this unless you told me like this? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, that's true.
I
I mean,
I follow this Korea stuff, and what you're saying to me is like
all new.
completely new. I
That's
had
true.
no
Yeah.
idea.
Because everybody's following the news, and the news is wrong. And if you've experienced it here in the US, like
Yeah.
NBC, CNN, what in the world? Like, they're putting all this fake crap out there. Okay, maybe that can happen in Korea. They're
I know the
they're
news
being
I'm listening to is fake, so I'm
yeah,
completely ready to accept it. But thank you for letting me know. Yeah, I think that
yeah.
once again you should be making your own material and putting more out there. So we're going to talk more about putting that stuff out there. One thing that you also said earlier was that Koreans actually as a society, ooh, they love that book. They love that's why the names are from Confucius. They love learning. But I'm worried, like you said, like they're being trained at these schools, Harvard, blah blah blah, to
Mhm.
go into this woke ideology.
Yeah.
And I do feel like because honestly, there's type of I think that academics has this type of relationship with the establishment that it
Mhm.
kind of becomes circular. And I think that science itself was a fight against rationalism, fight against a bunch of intellectuals who didn't go out and actually interact with things in real life,
Mhm.
but sat in their armchairs and arrogantly proclaimed how life should be.
Yeah.
Koreans love education. How can we break or reshape that, you know, um, part about ourselves before it's too late?
Well, I think it starts from ground up. Like, it starts with the children, our next generation. And Sorry, my battery's like. Hold on one second.
So yeah. Sorry, almost done. Yeah.
Yeah, we're almost
I
done.
appreciate it. It's been an awesome show for me. Yeah, I really don't get to talk like this with people up here.
I know
But
there's not a lot of people here either, but there's still a handful and they're really working hard to like get the word out there. We really need to bring more awareness, have more podcasts like yours, more people speaking up, and then just get conversations going. I think like Ian Carroll, I don't know if you've seen him, make short videos so that the younger generation, you can get their attention, like 30 seconds, 1 minute, and just throw it out there. Wow, what is Doge? You know, why is President Yoon getting impeached? Because like honestly, our attention span is like 6 seconds now. So if you send somebody like an hour-long video, they're not going to watch it. But like 30 seconds, they can watch. So
I'm going to invite that Emmanuel Patrick guy.
yeah.
Maybe we can have a speak about it with what's his name, also Michael One, and maybe we could all have a discussion together about
Yeah.
these young
Yeah.
field, because maybe he'll know about it too,
Yeah.
and he'll have interesting things to say, and then
Yeah.
we'll get more people to hear about it. So very interesting. I'm gonna start looking at that more.
Yeah.
Right.
Voter fraud. Look into it. And look into Lee Jae-myung. Look into Lee Min-sun. She's like the court judge. She has relations with like her sister that's on the left side. The National Election Committee, they were all left. The judges that were on the panel that judged President Yoon, they're part of the National Election Committee. They lied. They said that they're not government run. But how can a non-government run entity take care of the votes?
Hey,
that doesn't even make sense.
Do you have any like videos that maybe you could drop into the chat that like maybe people could watch like on?
Oh yeah, I can
that might
maybe.
explain it.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Shim, he did a really good job.
Yeah. So I'll watch some videos in the meantime.
Sure.
I think that I do actually gonna probably wrap this video up and then come back to you later.
Sure.
But I think that you're very interesting. I think that the thumbnail shows, I think it's OC Mama or OC Mom.
OC Mom with an M because I'm Mindy.
Okay. OCMOMM.
Yeah.
Okay. And is there any other place that you put up your stuff besides Instagram? You have a YouTube.
I do Instagram, YouTube, X, and a little bit of TikTok, but not a lot.
And what do people have to look forward to? Do you have any other events coming up or any particular? It sounds like this Yunsa Gil stuff is imminent.
Yeah, it's every week, every Saturday at 2 p.m. We're in Buena Park in front of the Zion Market. It's the Korean market, and here I'm gonna put up the post. Did you see that? That's the video. It's in English. 20-minute, just real simple education on how it started. And
I'll drop this into the public chat. Give me a second.
Yeah.
So bam, I'm gonna drop that in there and put it on the screen.
Yeah.
And
there's not enough people speaking in English about this. Korea's going crazy. Like harmonies, like old people, they're watching YouTube, like, and all these things, and they're crying. I've got so many comments saying, I'm so thankful. I'm crying every night. Can't go to sleep because our country is going down the drain. It's going to be handed over to the CCP. And if Korea goes down, guess what? America is going to be more prone to the communists taking over because South Korea has so much influence all over the world with like K-pop, K-food, K-beauty. They're going to use propaganda in every single one of those means to influence the whole world. So Korea must be saved. That's why we have Make Korea Free Again hat. So it's just bring awareness, just spread the word. I think that's like what other people can do. And then if around this neighborhood, we have people coming from Sacramento, Michigan, Seattle, like they flew over here just to, attend the rally because it's the biggest one in all of America. I've heard like New York maybe has like a little one, Seattle, Washington, DC, like they started a little one, but they're not as big. And then the news media outlets, they're not reporting on these rallies as well. That's another big thing because they're all left.
They have something else they want to get accomplished. Yeah.
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 But, yeah, of course.
I have my doubts about everything, but it's interesting to learn about what you're talking about. So very cool, and I do look forward to doing more actual content with you. Hopefully, we'll definitely come back on.
Sure.
Really appreciate. Thank you so much. I have quite a bit to digest. I'll definitely be watching this several times just to try to digest everything that happened. I got a lot of information here.
Yeah. This guy, Michael Strom, he's from, he was a professor at University of Massachusetts, but he's been in global studies for a long time. So he's seen the whole picture and he's very like trying to be central, but ultimately it comes down to becoming right wing because we can't agree with the left wing things.
Okay, I'm gonna throw actually a couple, actually I forgot to say these things. Let me just jam it on at the end. So the thing is that over here, we know that here we have someone named Grace Meng. Over there, who do you got? Someone named Sam or something? There's like a progressive Sam Chu or something. There's some kind of progressive congressman for out there for California. Who is it?
Is
Ray Chow.
he Asian?
Yeah, yeah.
Progressive Asian in
California.
California.
Either
I know
way, yeah.
there's a couple white ones like Shirley Weber and I forgot the other guy's name.
So the thing is, right, earlier, like you said before, there's an Asian American, but that person is not represented by an Asian American district.
Yeah.
And the same thing is true for Grace Meng, right? Yeah. And once again, right, I'm not saying that I used to be a lot more for Palestine. I'm still saying that, right? I do feel like still a lot of sympathy. Like I would say overall, I'm for Palestine, but I do know there's a lot of people of Jewish descent who are like in Arabic countries who were pushed out of their countries and pushed into Israel. So I'm not going to say that either side is innocent at all. I'm not for hostage taking. Sorry to keep going on, but once again, just to get to the to that particular point, sorry, I just wanted this little side thing. Where was I going with it?
Israel and Palestine.
Yeah, but I was going to that for a certain reason.
The progressive Asian American.
Oh yeah. So the thing is that, right, when we take a look at the anti-war movement, I do believe that the CIA and FBI is definitely involved. We know that the student movement used to be very powerful during the 60s and 70s. Now you don't hear anything from them because there's definitely been manipulation going on.
Yeah.
And the anti-war movement is definitely something that's definitely crucial. And the fact of the matter is that, let's take a look at once again, right? The Palestinian movement, once again, why aren't they talking to Koreans who are on the same timeline for peace as them? You know, we're not the only ones cut out. Let's talk about Israel for a second, right? They say never forget, okay? But Koreans died during their own genocide by Japanese, as earlier mentioned.
Yeah.
And also, we know that the Jews were, and I'm not saying that Jews didn't suffer because they did, but they're victims of the Third Reich, okay? But did you know that there was a Second Reich?
Oh, when?
During World War One. Not that far before World War II, okay? And the victims were Namibian.
Yeah.
But we don't talk about them because they're African, right? Yeah, so look. So now let me get to my final point here, right? Yeah, so the thing about those Asian Americans that don't represent, Grace Meng represents a Jewish district. And you can see that I could show, actually, let me show you right now, actually, her donations. Because the thing is that, right, did you hear about someone named Linda Sun or someone named Yumi Terry?
No.
Okay, let's take a look. Give me a second. Let me share this with you. Okay, so first of all, I was talking about, was it Sumi Terry? Okay, Linda Sun. Okay, she's actually a CCP spy that was actually serving under someone named Grace Meng. You see this? Okay, Homo Hochul aide, that's the governor of New York, Linda Sun, indicted on new money laundering allegations. She was actually a spy for China, right?
Yeah.
See this? Okay. Sumi Terry. Actually, there's very interesting ties to that I'm going to tell you about Tulsi Gabbard. Okay, Sumi Terry is actually a Korean American scholar. She was CIA intelligence, and then she also was she was on all the news channels. And then what happened that she's also the wife of someone named Max Boot, who's a reporter at Washington Post.
Oh.
Yeah. So actually, so you know, okay. So anyways, let's just finish up with this particular thing, right? Yeah. So as in terms of well, I was talking about Palestine and then the connections to the liberal thing. So the thing is that the I think they're really destined to lose because the thing is that what they do is they do these protests on the street. But in the 69th Assembly District, right, where Columbia University is, 69th Assembly District, New York. Okay, let's see what this looks like. Okay.
Yeah, Columbia University, which is very highly rated for Koreans. They want all the kids to go there.
The thing is that, that state assembly district where it is, that's where Columbia is located. This guy right here, whose name is Michael Asher, the only one supported by the Israel Solidarity PAC, won that election. They don't have the kids get electorally involved, right? Yeah, like whether you're for them or against them, I'm telling you, those kids are being bamboozled, and that whole movement is controlled. And they have to go out and blow off steam, and then they have them go back home feeling like they did something. They did nothing. And the same way, manipulation for Korean American activism regarding our own issues, I think that things are about to heat up in Asia.
Yeah.
China's tired of being kicked around. They're getting their own independence. BRICS is going down. And right now, they don't have any voices for Korean Americans to say about what they're going to try to grab someone in a moment. But I don't trust their person at all. And right now, I think within our community, we got to say, so I'm tired of seeing my people being on the front line for nuclear disasters.
That's true. I know. The people here in Orange County, they're just rallying because they want to show support for the Koreans out there, for President Yoon, and tell them they're not alone. And because a lot of them really want US to get, on board and help South Korea, because they've always done that. And that's
what
how
happens if Yoon doesn't get in? Does his vice president get in? Does the other party take office?
So what they're trying to do is the Democrat leader Lee Jae-myung. There's a lot of conspiracy on him, but there's like 8 people who's died around him. He's like a gangster. So they're trying to make him the president. But most of the Koreans, they don't like him. But
is he a VP? Is he
I think he's like the system's a little different. He's like the commander or something, or he's like the head of the Democratic side. So I think so he's supposed to be like, and they call it the Together Democrats. And
I'm sorry, but here in the U.S., usually a VP would take over. Why is someone from the opposition party taking? Is that normal?
Yeah.
Like, why is that?
No, they're trying to make him the president. Like, I don't know if it's like legal for him to like be put up like right away. But
the normal procedure is the VP goes in though, right?
Yeah, I don't know if that's the system. I think they're gonna try to like vote him in to take over.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like their plan. That's what people think is gonna happen if the impeachment goes through. Then South Korea is gonna be run over by pretty much CCP because he's bought out. Is what people are claiming.
What do you think they're going to? What do you think the CCP is trying to accomplish in South Korea?
Well, they're trying to take over because South Korea is such a huge influence. There's a lot of money to be made. All of the chips and all of the technical things that are happening in South Korea.
But let's be real, okay? Korea and Vietnam resisted ethnic domination by the Chinese for 5,000 years.
Yeah.
So what makes them think they can do it to us now?
They're doing it secretly with spies and planting people in government as judges.
Keep trying, China. Yeah, good luck with that.
Right.
Ain't good work.
But they're trying to succeed through this, putting Lee Jae-myung up there on the throne so that they could easily infiltrate. But like the celebrities and the politicians they're already bought out by CCP. Like,
Oh, maybe they could hit the eject button. I do want to also ask her about the let's see. There's also those things called chaebols, and a lot of the Japanese actually. We'll see. Maybe I'll bring her back on. Yeah, I think it's been long enough. Yeah, so let me just hit her back in the other space and be like, yo, maybe it's just a good place to call it. If you have anything you want to say, hit me in the chat. If she jumps in, I'm just gonna hit her back here. That's cool. Eject button. Let's see. Around for a bit. Okay, so I just texted her back on the spot and said, give you a little bit of time to come back. Oh, do I have to let you back in? Maybe, I don't know. Okay, so I think that's a good place to call it. Anyways, I was just about done. So it's a good little cliffhanger. All right, folks. I've been looking forward to learning more about Korea. Yeah, let's see what's up with this. I'm ending this. It's been almost 2 hours.